Interesting. You mentioned vegan, vegetarianism, those kind of diets.
Sure.
What are the pros and cons of things like that? We hear a lot of people say vegetarianism is the only way to go, or vegan on the other end of the scale. What are the pros and cons of them?
The most important thing that people don't understand, some of the scientists do, some of the older scientists, Dr. Pottinger, Weston Price, two, a doctor and a dentist, so both doctors technically, is it takes a long time for something that's wrong to show itself. So if, for example, the only time we ever figured out that something was bad for us, for the human being, was if it caused a symptom within a week or even within a month. We wouldn't know most of the things that cause cancer. We wouldn't know anything about asbestos. We wouldn't know anything about DDT. We wouldn't know anything about thalidomide. We wouldn't know anything about DES, diethylstilbestrol, because those things took months and months and sometimes years and years and years to produce those effects. And so we now know from various different research studies that things can slowly accumulate and become worse and worse and worse, not only over a few years, but over many, many years. They find, for example, that there's a much larger amount of Parkinson's around areas where certain type of pesticides are in higher use. But it takes years and years and years and years to do that. So the thing that people don't understand is that the only type of research having to do with healthy eating, what is good for a long-term way for a population to eat, the only type of research that really is valid for that is what we call multi-generational research. So if somebody wants to tell me, which they do all the time, that's a healthy way to eat. No, that's a healthy way. No, this is a healthy way. And they can fill in the blank with, vegetarian, lacto-vegetarian, lacto-ovo-vegetarian, fish only, strict vegan, which often I hear pronounced vegan. I'm not sure where that came from, and I'm pretty sure it's vegan. But in any event, I go, well, how big is the planet? We have a pretty big planet. We have huge numbers of variations of the ways in which people eat. So we could call it their diets. I don't like the word diet because if you look up diet is a temporary alteration in eating habits to reach a desired goal. Therefore, I don't want anybody to go on a diet because if it's healthy, I want it to be permanent, so it's not a diet. If it's not healthy, then I still don't want it to be a diet. So either way, I want people to change their eating habits. But even though this planet is this huge, and even though when people like Weston Price and Wilhelmer Stephenson and other explorers that went around the planet to different places found the civilizations or tribal populations, the Eskimos, who, they were called Eskimos then, now we can't do that, now they're the Inuit. But the original way that these groups ate, and that included New Zealand Maori, it included the Maasai in Africa, lots and lots of different groups. They basically didn't have all of our diseases. And so you'd have, 30 and 40 and 50-year-olds, and you wouldn't have cancer, and you wouldn't have heart disease, and you wouldn't have diabetes, and all the various things we have, they didn't have. And their diets were very different from one another. But there were a couple of similarities. Price, who studied over a dozen different tribal populations, never found a vegetarian diet. And the few times that he found tribes that because of a mountain range or something else that made it so that some particular animal food, whether it was some types of birds or some type of four-legged animals, were less able to be in an area or caught in that area. So in other words, you get very similar part of the world, not that far apart, but this tribe could get more animal protein than that tribe. The one eating more animal protein was healthier. So if we have such a large planet with such unbelievably diverse populations and diverse climates. You've got everything from unbelievably hot and humid to unbelievably hot and dry to everything in the middle. And so all the different types of things that you would think would sustain long-term multi-generational health would have been tried and would be going on somewhere if they worked. How come we don't have a single vegan tribe anywhere on the planet Earth? How come you can't point me to a fourth generation vegan? My guess, and if I was a multi-billionaire, if I was a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett, I would fund the experiment. I would have an island, and everything that they wanted would be there. Whatever it is anybody might want, it would be there. We'd bring all the vegans together. They could all be there. And not because I hate anybody. I like everybody. Everybody has the rights to do what they want to do. But I would want to be able to regulate it so that no animal food of any kind, nothing that isn't classified as vegan, would be allowed on that island. Things would get searched before a helicopter would land, etc. But anything else they wanted would be there. I want us to be a place where people would love to live. Oh my God, the preeminent perfect vegan society. And I would like to see if we could get to 5 generations, because that's what proves a really, really perfect diet. 5 generations and we're still in perfect health. Personally, since DHA and EPA, 2 of the essential fatty acids, don't exist in the plant kingdom, and so unless your body can make enough of it from the plant sources of omega-3s, which most people can't, vitamin B12 has been shown to be extremely poorly absorbed except in animal origin. So a lot of vegetarians take B12. Well, how do we have a healthy diet that you have to take a supplement for to be healthy? So I would love to be able to do that experiment, but meanwhile, I will only believe that a diet is healthy if we can validate that 5 generations have eaten that way, still have fertility, still have excellent health, are still doing very well, and, you know, find me a vegan society on this planet that would have developed if it were one of the many types of food eating, you know, that worked. And we don't have it. Doesn't mean it's impossible. I think it's impossible.